You are listening to the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. Joining me as always, halfway across the world, Jared Morgan.
Hello there.
This has been a busy week, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Probably the busiest I've ever been on the forum for the last probably 6 or 7 months, I would think.
So for those of you living under a rock, that for some reason this is the first time you've ever tuned into our podcast and have no idea what's going on. Last week was on Tuesday was the release of the information that Zen had gotten the Williams pinball license, and then they went ahead and dropped a demo that is a public demo for anybody to be able to play over on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
And we dropped our podcast, and various other sites dropped their information, and video podcasts were put up by other folk. And then you spent way more time than you usually do on the forum. I was on the forum all day Tuesday responding to people. And
I stayed up the previous night until like 11 and 12 o'clock just to get all the assets lined up and released.
Yeah.
It was an interesting night, that one.
It's like finally things are kind of settling back down.
After the initial blush of excitement.
Yeah, the great part is digitalpinballfansforum.com has never been busier in the past, I gotta say 2 years at least.
I think so. I think we've actually got a lot of new signups too, eh?
Oh yeah. It's been lively. It's been a lot of fun.
It has actually. It's been great to actually see the forum light up again and actually have really like the forum posts I've seen. All of it has been really nice Discord too. Like there's been some debate, but it's not been the debate that we were having in the past on the forum. It's been very measured and very, very good actually.
So our recommendation to you folks is if you've never signed up for digitalpinballfans.com, go do it. If you're interested at all in digital pinball, it's the only place to be. And you're gonna read a lot of opinion and insight and find out news way better than if you try and gather it off of Facebook, way better than if you try and get it off of Steam threads. And the reason why I say that, Jared, is because I was out of curiosity. I was like, okay, what are other sites mentioning about?
Yeah. What's the coverage?
About Zen getting this. Are they all, going ape over this, or are they just kind of...
It's passing news. It's like page 10 news or something like that.
Right. So the first place I went was over to Facebook, which I know that's scary land if you're looking at
dangerous territory.
If you're looking at Pinball Arcade's Facebook page, it's just like you seriously question why you ever clicked on it, because it amounts to basically people going, I want this table, even though it's like not even a Stern or Gottlieb table that Pinball Arcade can do. I want Houdini. Well, congratulations.
So do I.
Or it would be one of these. Have you guys released on Xbox 360 yet?
What? Really?
God, move on. It's just a lot of that. It's a lot of people who are guessing at stuff and have never visited any other forum, and it's just like the most simplistic of simplistic theorization that you can be. That I'll read it and I'll be like, yeah, we dismissed that like 2 years ago. I go over to Zen's Facebook page, see their announcement, and almost right off the bat, one of the first comments was, "No, I like your fantasy tables. Real pinball's boring. I don't want to play that."
Really?
And that was such an eye opener to me, because I'm just like, oh my God, this is why Zen is kind of worried, because this is their fan base. They want fantasy tables. They want the bells and whistles. They want the animation going around. They want all the crazy, because to them, looking at a regular pinball machine digitally is a snooze fest.
Yeah, right. How weird, eh?
Right? It really is kind of bizarre. And then it went into people because I think at some point Zen said, "Hey, we're not stopping our fantasy tables." And people were like, "Oh, good. Well, why don't you just let Farsight have the license back instead?"
Sure, let's just give them that like, because nobody wants it. No. Nobody wants us to do the tables at all.
I mean, now granted, there was a lot of people that were like, "Oh my God, this is fantastic news! You guys, you're my favorite pinball platform." Blah blah blah. This is just great, and stuff like that. But it was interesting that there was a fair amount of those comments, as opposed to if you go onto our forum, nobody had that kind of comment. There was nobody that was just like, "Oh no, I only like Zen for the fantasy tables." If anything, the Digital Pinball Fans forum, it kind of goes into but really Zen, they're physics, they're too leaden, they don't have bounce, the tables are too easy, you can go on them forever. So on our forum, it was all about the physics.
It's all about because our forum is like a couple of levels down the digital pinball rabbit hole, really.
Yeah.
So we have a very different perspective on things in that forum, and it's it is a specialty forum, let's be honest. Like it is all about digital pinball, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of various experience on that forum about digital pinball. So if you want the digital pinball specific discussion, it's definitely Digital Pinball Fans.
So then you go over to Steam and you hop onto there, and
they have a forum too.
They have a forum too, and there's like there's a dedicated page called, I think, Pinball Players. And so I went into that to kind of look, because I think they have 1,500 members or something like that. So I mean, it's decent size. And hold on one second. There. Didn't want to cough into the mic. Sorry, folks. And so I went onto theirs, and a fair amount of excitement over it, but it's only a couple of notches above the Facebook, where the only area you're getting the real information is when somebody who you recognize from being on Digital Pinball Fans would go in there and drop a nugget of info.
Everyone else is going, "Oh, I don't know." It's like the first they've ever heard of it, essentially.
Right. So that was kind of interesting. So then the big one was, I go over to Pinside.
Oh man!
I had to scroll down so far to find. The first thing I found was it wasn't even a thread devoted to it. It was devoted to Farsight losing the license. So it was an old thread. And so I hopped on that, went onto the last page, and people mentioned the license, and all they were doing was, and by this point the beta was completely able to download and play. And they're just like, "Oh, but I hate Zen's physics. Oh, that's not going to be any good at all. I'll just stick with Visual Pinball." And I'm like, have you guys not even bothered? Did you not see that?
It's free.
It's free. You can download. So then I finally found a scroll down. If you've ever been on Pinside, you realize that there's just 5 billion posts. Scroll way down, finally find one that's an actual announcement post.
Yeah, right.
And again, it's somebody copying and pasting from, I think they copied and pasted it from This Week in Pinball, actually.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And those people, Zen Pinball's not even a real pinball. And just crapping all over it, until finally somebody took a look at it and played the beta, and they went, "Hey, you know what? It's actually not half bad."
Yeah.
So that was rather amusing to just see what different people's perspectives are within our own forum. Once people got their hands on the beta, you could see the attitude change just immediately. I mean, it was just like, let me sing the praises. And then you had the people that were on the consoles who aren't privy to the beta, or on iOS, and they were still doing I don't know.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
Am I really gonna? I've already got all the tables. I'm not gonna pay more. If Zen wants me to pay more, they're gonna need to only make tables that I don't own yet. Don't own already. Or it's, I tried Zen years ago. I just don't care for them. I don't like their physics. And again, you're just like, If you have never paid any attention, they're different.
Yeah.
they're so much better now. So I think it is totally going to be a case of people need to get it in their hands. They need to try it out and see what's what. That being said, this past week Zen has been pretty dang busy too. They've been taking feedback left and right, implementing it rather fast in some instances. And the problem is that I think we got too many cooks in the kitchen now, because the difference between the version of the game that we were playing for the 3 weeks prior to the announcement,
the alpha,
the alpha, if you will, which was, if that's an alpha, damn. Compared to what they put out for the public demo, compared to what they then changed in the public demo and patched, is getting easier and easier. And I don't like that.
Yeah, that tilt is way, way softer than it was.
The tilt got softer because
people whinged about it.
Well, and who whinged about it? It's the people that play on a keyboard.
Yeah.
People that play on a keyboard. Stop it. Get a controller in your hand. Your nudge is a single button. Of course it's going to be too hard.
100%. Yeah.
So they were asking for a 2-stage nudge, basically. And I don't know if that meant, on a second key or what the deal was. And so
one of the suggestions that, like, in the forum post was, so what I think would be great if we actually had, like, on the keyboard, you hold down one key, then you press another key, and that does your tilt. Hang on a second. So you're going to remember in game, if you want to do a soft tilt, but I have to hold down control and like, Z to do a tilt. No, you're just going to smash a button because the ball's going down the out lane, mate. Like, there's no way you would do this.
I have seen Twitch videos of people playing. This was with Pinball Arcade, where they were non-stop nudging. They were doing the little soft nudge.
Yeah.
But I'm talking out, it was like every 3 seconds they were nudging.
Yeah.
And that was just how they played. And to me, it was just like, that's a really odd way of manipulating a table rather than just letting
essentially
the ball.
They were fine-tuning the path of the ball in flight all the time.
Yeah.
Which is really not what pinball's about.
No. And so because of the keyboard people complaining that the nudge was an instant tilt, the nudge sensor, if you will, got lowered to the extent that now you can nudge to your heart's content for a little while before it fires off a tilt. The bigger issue with the nudge is if you have the ball, it's sitting on your flipper, captured, and you do a nudge up, the ball jumps forward about 6 inches.
It goes above the slingshots.
Yeah. I tried it on my 8-ball deluxe. I slammed that table hard. I got the ball about a half an inch off the flipper. And an immediate slam tilt.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way. There's no way. Like, seriously, this path that they're going down with the tilt discussion, it actually shouldn't be a discussion.
No.
It should just be, this is how tilt works on our game. And these tables are different to our fantasy tables because they're a different breed of table.
Yep. And that's actually what I worry about is a lot of people, I think, are taking Pinball Arcade as gospel for how these
they should not be taking Pinball Arcade's tilt as gospel. It's rubbish.
And they have not played real tables. So they don't understand what that is. And so that being said, Zen has already said we're going to still address it. They're going to keep on going back
tweaking
to it. They did manage to implement post passes, and they work really good.
The
problem is
tip stuff as well.
The problem is that they deadened the rubber on the flippers.
Oh no.
So now they feel like the Zen flippers of the standard game, which I hate because that's not how flipper rubber is.
Well, it is if you put super bands on your pinball machine.
Okay, fine.
They're horrible. And they're horrible. No one likes them.
The problem is that it makes the ball so much easier to control now.
Yeah.
And I liked it before when the ball was crazy.
Wild. It was wild.
To get a handle on it.
It was what we were begging for in Pinball Arcade. Yeah. And now they've dulled it back. There was promise there, and now they've dulled it back. They need to get rid of that tuning aspect on that flipper. It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not real pinball, and it's going to destroy the great work that they've done on this Williams pinball license to date. It's going to destroy it.
And my example of how it's being destroyed is there's a certain individual that plays digital pinball. I can't pronounce his last name, but Tarek. And all of you
Tarek
probably
Oberdink, I think.
Oberdink, yeah. All of you are probably more than aware of it if you play digital pinball because he dominates the boards.
He's very good at the digital pins.
He schooled TPA, just destroyed scores on that. He's a marathon player, one of these guys that would put in 18 hours on a single table.
Yeah.
Within the first day, he had fishtails at over 3 billion. And by the end of this week, he basically broke the ROM at 10 billion.
At 10 billion, yeah.
In 1 week's time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think he was playing it in tournament mode, but I'm sure it wouldn't take him that much effort to do it in tournament mode
after
either.
After he adapted to a different play style, he'd be able to get there.
Now, the scary thing is he goes, I like the physics. Like,
yeah, no kidding, mate, because they like bloody TPA at the moment.
I'm like, come on, man. I want the wild ball. I want it crazy. I want it hard to trap. I want all these things. Yes, I want to be able to post pass correctly. There's got to be something that can be done.
Techniques, like the flipper skills that you need, should be 100% OP on point. But, let's just get those right. And let's just lock those in as this is how Zen Pinball Williams collection is.
Yes.
That is it. There's no variation. Just like with their call on the earlier tables that they had. No, those tables are staying the way they are with the leaden flippers, the leaden ball, the listless rubber, because if we have to change it, we have to retune the whole thing. No, that's how they're staying. Case closed, not doing it.
Yeah.
They just need to draw a line in the sand. Like, collecting feedback is great, but there needs to be decisions made really strongly about what flippers do.
Yeah.
And look, I can see why they're doing it. They're collecting information to gauge people's feedback of what feels right, but they've got to have a very clear vision in their mind about the tolerances either way, about what their vision is for this platform.
Well, and to me, it comes down to this. They own the tables.
Mm-hmm.
Go to the tables, roll the ball around, see how the ball behaves on your table.
Try and do a tilt and see how far that ball gets off the flipper, because it won't be up past the slingshots.
Find out how hard it is to trap the ball on your machine.
Mm-hmm.
Just play the machine, record your play, then go and try and
translate
implement that. Because I'm telling you, folks, the beta that we played was exciting.
It got us excited.
It was exciting.
Because it was like, wow, here we go. This is it.
And now
they did it.
It's still better than, even in this state, it's still better than how it plays in Pinball Arcade. But we're drifting closer to Pinball Arcade than we are the other direction. And I want the other direction.
We don't want a Pinball Arcade with better graphics.
Right.
We want a brand new game experience for the Williams and Belly table properties.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Pinball Arcade.
Yes.
In a normal week, we'd be like, hi, how are you guys doing? Is your morale okay? We hope so. Pinball Arcade has tables to release this week, which is bad timing on their part.
Well, you can't buy any of the Zen tables.
True.
But at the same time.
So, at the same time, they just... well, I'm not going to say they stole your thunder, but they're stealing the thunder for the next couple of weeks. This is what happens when this is what happens with movies, where you may have a perfectly fine movie and you may have your release date all scratched out and everything, and then a movie opens the week before that nobody was really thinking about, and it's brilliant, and that's all anybody can talk about, and your movie releases the next week and it's to crickets. Nobody cares. So anyway, Farsight released their Stern Table Pack 3, which is Big Buck Hunter and Whoa Nelly.
Big juicy melons.
Yeah. Which If you look at that table, the innuendo on that is so above and beyond anything that is in Elvira, Scared Stiff, that I'm really, really insulted that Scared Stiff can't be released in the non-family mode.
Yeah.
It just is like, come on. If you can put this table out, you should have
the rating that you have.
Yeah.
Come on, like turn the bloody family mode off. At least give us that.
Yeah. Which we'll get into. That's something that we have to complain about to Zen 2 also. But we'll touch on that in a second. We'll touch on that in a second.
We will get to it.
Yeah, so the problem with Big Juicy Melons is that it looks like crap. I'm sorry. It looks like crap. And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just my eyes after having seen what Zen did. I went back and I compared to the last couple of releases that Farsight has done and looked at those tables. I looked at specifically, I looked at World Champion Soccer. I looked at Doctor Who. And slipping my mind what the other one was that I looked at. But anyways, I looked at 3 different tables. And they all look pretty good. The colors are bright. They're crisp. The graphics were rather nice. The lighting was rather nice, except for now that I'm looking at Doctor Who Masters of Time, I'm like, wait, that's 50% ambient lighting and bulbs? Why does it look like I'm in a mausoleum?
Yeah.
But anyway, they looked all pretty well. You look at Big Juicy Melons, the playfield is washed out. The graphics look low res. They're not crisp. The colors are dull. There's a seam running across the middle of the playfield.
Once you see it, you can't unseam it.
No, you look at
really
can't. Look at the star rollovers, and
they sort of like
when they're not lit, they're kind
flat.
Of okay. When they're lit, they look beyond low res. They're just a mess.
They actually look like they're sticking up from the playfield.
They
actually look like
they should be.
No. When they light, it looks like the circle, the actual insert, almost looks like a post saver that pops up out of the playfield. To me, it's not good at all.
Yeah. Look at the plunger handle. It is like a 2-color plunger. It's blown out. It's got no detail on it. It's just 2 different shades of silver, and that's it. It doesn't look anything like a realistic spring or a polished handle. None of that. It's got 0 detail on it. And that's the way it is for the entire table. You just look at it, everything is wrong about it.
It looks flat. Like the thing that really struck me, even in table flyover mode, is like I'm having a hard time working out the bits that are sticking out off the playfield, like around the flippers, the slingshots and everything. Everything looks flat.
Yeah.
And when you're playing this thing on a mobile and you're looking at that sort of top-down view in portrait mode, it just doesn't have any concept of height. I don't know what they've done.
And then the kick in the nuts on the whole thing is here we have what is essentially a modern day EM.
Yeah.
It's got reels on it, scoring reels.
It does. Yeah.
Except for when you play, push the start button and then a DMD pops up.
Yeah, which is technically in a little teeny tiny LCD screen in the apron.
Yes.
It's like literally it's about, I would say, a quarter of the size, not even that, an eighth of the size of the scorecard. That's where it's actually positioned on the game. And they've given it prominent pride of place right at the top. Now, in the view that I've seen on mobile when I'm playing it in portrait mode, it does actually show the reels in shot as well as the DMD.
Okay.
So that's a view that I have been playing with. And look, the animation, the reels animate nicely. They actually roll, unlike a lot of the other
See, why would you
EM
go
tables.
through all of that and then not show it?
Well, they do show it. It's in the view that I can
but
see.
what I'm saying is I don't see it when I'm playing it on the PC. I don't
on the PC in portrait. In landscape mode.
In landscape.
It would be cut off. Yeah.
So it's like, you went through all this hassle of animating it, and then you didn't even give me animated reels. But if I play Central Park, I get animated reels.
Yes,
So
that's true.
And the DMD, it's got nothing going on it. There's no graphics. There's no animation. It's just the score, the ball number, and the player number. That's it.
It's designed to show the replay. That's literally what it's for. Like they say on the instruction card, look at the LCD for the replay.
It's completely infuriating to me, and especially for the fact that we've known about Whoa Nelly and Big Buck Hunter forever.
For like a year.
They've been working on it for a long time. They haven't put out a table since Bonsai Run.
Let's reframe that. They've had the plan to release it for a year. I don't know if they've been working on it for a year, though, with all the other stuff that's been going on in the studio.
I think that if I'm not mistaken, they were working on it back when they were working on. It was basically going to be the next release after Bonsai Run.
Right.
It got delayed because of the licensing deal and having to then deal with Arcuda and get that up and running.
Yeah, true.
But Arcuda got up and running, and Arcuda got up and running by the end of June, right?
Yeah.
Then they went ahead and they had to do tweaking to it.
Yes.
But the art guys weren't having to do tweaking to it necessarily.
That's true.
There was time, and you're not doing a monthly release.
No.
This is substandard to what you were doing when you were doing a monthly release.
Yes. It's like all the effort's been put into Big Buck, and zero effort has been put into in comparison.
Well, and I was worried about Big Buck. Big Buck Hunter in beta looked like what Whoa Nelly looks like. It was washed out, low res looking, just nothing was crisp. So when I loaded this up and checked out the trial version of the table, I was pleased to see the Big Buck Hunter looked like what it should. I'm still not 100% on how the lighting is on it. It's a little too dark.
Dark, yeah, I agree.
And this is where I don't want a giant spotlight on the middle of the table. I want the table lighting to do what it's supposed to do. And it's not doing what it's supposed to do. And there's where you see a stark difference between what Zen is doing versus what Farsight was doing. Because Zen's lighting is doing what it should do on the table, which is general illumination should be generally illuminating things.
That's right.
But the playfield art looks much more crisp. It looks like what we're used to. So I don't know what happened. Maybe a submission fell through and didn't get put in.
Yeah.
Hopefully Farsight, you guys hopefully change it this coming week and fix that, because right now it's kind of insulting looking at Will Nelly. It really is.
I would 100% not be buying the pack. I would not be paying the $21 for the two tables at the moment in the condition that Whoa Nelly is in. It is a zero sale for me.
And we'll state that that's 21 for Australia.
That's Aussie dollars. Yes, Aussie pesos. It's about 15
I believe
in the US.
The pricing here in the US, it's 15 for the two tables, $10 a pop if you go individually.
Yeah. So it's like, I think $15 for Big Buck.
Yeah.
And probably the same for Whoa Nelly.
Yeah.
I, honestly, just without even looking at the state of what Farsight's released, I don't actually think I would put $15 of my own money into Whoa Nelly. It's not really that exciting as a game.
Yeah.
So that's my measure. Like whenever people know me in the past, and if the great thing about Pinball Arcade is you spend a couple of bucks and you play the game forever. But I don't know if I would actually be bothered, to be perfectly honest. It's not very compelling. There's plenty of other games out there that would have been better to put in.
One of the things that with this news of Zen, a kind of thread that had popped up a little while ago, but then all of a sudden got new life in it, was is this the end of Farsight thread? And everybody was kind of going, well, no, it doesn't have to be the end of them at all. Having competition is a good thing. You would hope that the two studios will kind of push each other to be better. And in Farsight's case, it's like you have these modern Sterns. You need to figure out a way to pony up and pay the licensing on them. Yeah. And then, for God's sake, go do those classic Gottlieb EMs. People want those. They don't want the Gottlieb premieres. That's just
no one. They're crap. They're horrible, like B movie versions of actual Williams titles. Stop doing them.
You know what I compared it to? They're the direct to video version of the Hollywood blockbuster they're trying to emulate. You know?
Absolutely. Yes. Stop doing them. No one's interested.
No.
But those wedge heads, like if they put a whole pile of wedge heads into Pinball Arcade, Gottlieb's, you know, it would actually become like from their, you know, preserving digital pinball for the ages.
Yeah.
They'd be upholding their mission statement if they did
Absolutely.
that. Because that is like going back all the way back in time to those wedge heads. There's history there that is going to be lost. And, you know, if anything, they could go back and do those tables, no problems at all.
Not only that, you're not having to model toys. You're doing simple pinball parts.
And they're not licensed.
They're not licensed. You can focus on any number of things, you know, whether it's trying to improve physics or just making sure that the artwork looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm not even saying going back. I mean, going back to wedge heads, that's a long time ago. But you can even do SS EMs. The Gottlieb, you know, any of the SS tables. How come we never had Joker Poker? You know, I mean, it's these are wonderful drop target heavy tables
that are, like, quite frankly, a joy to play if you know what pinball's about.
Exactly. So there's no reason for this to be the end of Farsight. You've got the modern if you pony up for the Stern stuff, and then you can go and have the cheap easy license with, you know, the Gottlieb going with their EMs and early SS tables. So I really wish. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the issue is because it's not ROM based, and they have to script the entire thing.
Well, maybe that's what the issue is. They've done that with a number of EMs. They've done that with Fireball. They've done that with a whole pile of games
but
today.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the issue is, but
maybe they. I don't know. Maybe they don't sell. But you look at Central Park. It's one of the top tables,
right?
And you look at
Big Shot.
Big Shot, another like top earning table. Like
it's a niche of the market that's not being served.
Yes, everyone else is doing DMDs and all the new games, but no one's looking at the old school.
Right.
And like, you know, we copied on Steam that dedicated single table game, that EM game that's like $13 on Steam.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, that one? Like that. I mean, sure, it hasn't got a lot of downloads, albeit, but at the same time, that's the only one of its type.
Yep.
On Steam for EM. So, you know, you could actually release, you could completely split off TPA and go for Gottlieb, like Memory Lane or whatever you want to call it, and release that on different platforms with a completely different engine, and just go, right, this is the new thing that we're doing. Like, I don't know. It's
like I said, I understand that this news is probably demoralizing, but it's also an opportunity to go in a different direction that you've not been willing to,
or able to.
Right. Instead of just embrace it, go for it, you know? Yeah. So this kind of gets us into, you probably all have been wondering, hey, when's the speculation coming up? Here it comes, folks.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. And this is truly us spinning our wheels like we love to do, applying our crime scene investigation techniques. It's what happens when you've been on a pinball forum for 6 years, have read and soaked up every last bit of news you can about digital pinball, have gone and talked to people, and have paid rather close attention. The clues are there. You can kind of piece together information. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened with Farsight. What did they do to piss off Williams or Scientific Games that got Zen to be able to get the license? So I kind of thought what we would do is kind of, go back down memory lane and kind of look at the timeline of the events of where we got to where we are, currently. And that goes, you got to go all the way back to when Farsight put out the Pinball Hall of Fame collection. They put out their Gottlieb collection, which was not that much of a risk, seeing as how there was already a Gottlieb collection that Atari had put out called, funny enough, the Pinball Arcade. And that was for Windows, and that was Gottlieb tables. So Farsight went and they did that, and then they decided to do a follow-up, which was Pinball Hall of Fame Williams collection. So I don't know exactly who was the if that was still under Williams holding back then. We're talking about going to, that was, I believe, 2009, if I'm not mistaken, 2008, 2009. But this is where, Farsight got their foot in the door and went out on a limb, struck a deal with Williams. Boom, put out this game. Farsight, having no clue that this would be anything that they would continue with, they sold all their pinball machines. Then, I don't know, for whatever reason, they came back around to wanting to do it again. And so come around end of 2011, start of 2012, we get Pinball Arcade. And this time they went after, I guess they had actually thought about doing a Bally collection, Pinball Hall of Fame Bally.
Yep.
And probably in their investigation of that, that's when they talked to Stern, realized that, hey, the Williams tables are very popular. We have a new engine that we can put this stuff out on. And so thus was born Pinball Arcade. And that first initial deal was dealing with Williams. And basically they had licensed themselves to be able to do 20 tables, I believe a year. Because they were doing double dips. Because that first season was 20 tables. I think the second season was also 20 tables.
Because they had to they had to bring in all the Williams collection tables that they did in the Pinball Hall of Fame brand.
Yeah.
So they had to relicense those again. Yeah, you're right. Because we remember that time, it was like two packs of everything. And it was just nuts.
So anyway, they had done an initial deal for X amount of tables. I believe it was Zach Sharp was the one that was the representative from Williams. And although Farsight had their wish list, they had to get that wish list approved. And Zach also went, hey, why don't you put this one in? Why don't you put this one in? So he was also guiding them towards picking of tables, which ones that would go in. And after 2 years or 2 seasons, it was time for a contract renewal.
Yep.
Now, I honestly believe that Farsight never really fought beyond those first 2 seasons. That's why all the AAA titles came out those first 2 seasons. They didn't know what they had on their hands. All they knew was they had the license. And, hey, while we got the license, we better put out the best stuff that we possibly can so that we hit the mark on what most people would want. Lo and behold, all of a sudden it's like, hey, you know what? We have a hit on our hands. Okay, time to renew.
Yes. And
none of us that were playing really had a clue that there was any kind of contract hullabaloo, except for suddenly we got 6 Gottlieb tables in a row.
Yeah.
And it was like, nobody was requesting these. Why are we getting these? Some of them we can understand, but others were like, what?
Yeah, some of them were very odd. And very strange titles that were kind of like, where did this come from? They're not even good Gottliebs.
And this was right at the beginning of 2014. Well, it turns out that's when license renewal time was for Farsight. It's in January of whatever year.
Season end, basically.
Yeah. Well, like the season itself may not have ended, but they've already got tables in the works. They've already approved the plan. So it's just, obviously you work months in advance of what is released and stuff.
Yes.
So that was kind of the deal, but they weren't terribly worried about the contract. We all were. And all of a sudden they came back with Fishtails as the start of season 3. And there was kind of this renewed energy of, Bally and Williams tables coming through. What they didn't happen to mention was that in January of 2014, that's when Scientific Games bought the Williams license.
Ah, right. That's when they acquired it.
That's when they no, that's not when they acquired the Bally license.
Ah, right.
Scientific Games acquired the Bally license and I have this somewhere in my notes. November. Yeah, they acquired it in November of 2014. So now around this exact same time period, I had heard rumor that Zen had thrown interest into getting either the Bally or the Williams license. I'm not sure which. But they kind of put their feelers out about that. Now, obviously, if you're a giant company acquiring another company, the last thing in the world you're going to pay attention to is a couple of little tiny
license.
Yeah, little niche studios going, hey, can we have this piece, this crumb here? It's like, no, we got bigger things to deal with, and we'll get to you guys later.
Yeah, exactly.
So nothing really became of it. At that same time, that was when Zen, they had just put out a whole bunch of Marvel tables. They were just starting to put out, I think they just put out their first Star Wars 3-pack. So it wasn't like Zen was hurting or anything. They
had their own plan. They had their own roadmap. Yep.
They had their own roadmap. They were going. So the two companies were popping along on their own thing. Zen was at that point doing Zen 2 on PlayStation, and it was Pinball FX 2 on Xbox, and I don't know.
And kind of everything else.
Yeah, I don't know if they drifted over to Steam yet or not at that point. I'm not quite sure.
I think they were.
Yeah, I think they were on mobile at that time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, again, nothing really interesting happens until 2016. That would be when the next contract renewal is. So by this point, Farsight's been kicking along and proven popular platform. They now are actually, they're taking better res photos of their tables. They've tried to work on flipper physics. Tried to do some improvements. Their
digitization, I think at that point they actually got a 3D digital scanner as well. So they were like scanning the playfield plastic blobs that you see on the playfield and actually getting proper 3D models of these things.
They just come onto Steam. They were, a lot of things were happening, and it was looking like, hey, you know what, this is. Yes, we didn't realize where this was going to go, but now we see where this can go, and we need to
let's double down.
Yeah, let's double down on it. This is good for us, right?
Yeah.
So 2016 comes around, comes time for the contract renewal, and basically the rumor is that Farsight went to make a bid to buy the Williams license outright. Which would basically have given them complete freedom, because they were telling us, they were like, kind of cryptically, we were asking, oh, well, how many tables are you going to do this time? And is there some point that you can, not have to stick by production-only versions of the tables, but, you can throw in the extra sticker that was in the prototype or whatever. And the information that was coming out was kind of like, just wait, because we're about to do something. And when this goes through, we'll be able to do whatever we want. We won't have to worry about the contract renewals anymore. We won't have to worry about meeting these restrictions. It'll all be wonderful.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, great. And then we didn't hear that anymore. So that was basically that was their first negotiations with Scientific. I think Scientific said, now they're willing to take a look and listen. And my guess is that Scientific probably went, oh, so you're offering to buy this outright. Hey, do you remember when there was that other company that was inquiring about maybe purchasing? We should talk to them too.
Yeah.
So
just to be fair. Yeah,
so I think that Scientific probably went to Zen and was like, hey, you remember when you still interested? Because we have an offer that we turned down. But maybe you have an offer. Now, you can kind of guess for whatever reasons that is. Did Scientific realize that because Farsight was unwilling to pay for the big licensed tables, which was pretty much all that was left, make the big money for selling in digital pinball, did they kind of go, well, Farsight clearly is not spending the money on this. Zen clearly has the ability to license, maybe it's better for us to go with them. And oh, by the way, if we went with them, we'd be making a whole new batch of money because all these tables would get released again.
It'll be like an extra double dip. Yeah,
it's a total double dip. And you kind of have to look at it as you had this on VHS and then you went and you purchased it on DVD, and now you got your 4K TVs out, and now they're releasing 4K discs. Yeah. So it's not unheard of or uncommon. On a side note, Zen did a Facebook Live chat this past week, and I was reading the comments, and there was this one moron who repeatedly kept on posting, "What are you going to do about the customers that have bought nearly 100 tables on Pinball Arcade?" It's a different company.
let me help you with that question, sir. Absolutely effing nothing is the answer.
Well, Zen was like, hopefully after you've played our demo and you've seen some of the other announcements that we're going to make, that you'll understand that this is worth the the extra purchase. It was a very diplomatic way of responding to it. And if I had been live when the recording was going, I watched the playback version.
Yeah,
I would just
been
like
commenting.
Well, the thing is that he would post this probably every couple of minutes. And it's like, dude, shut up about it. Quit being an idiot. Okay, so back to speculation. So I suspect that Scientific approached Zen, and Zen went, that's very interesting.
Let's explore this more.
let's explore this more. So here's where things get particularly interesting. If that was in January of 2016, in 2017, January of 2017, Zen Studios goes ahead and makes a Twitter post that says, "Oh, hey, we just got a new pinball machine for our in-house collection." And it was Roadshow. And Jared, you happened to pose the question, what else do you got there? And they answered back, Champion Pub, Metallica, Fishtails, Twilight Zone, Star Trek, and more. Now, it would not be unusual in the least for a pinball game
studio.
Company, studio to have pinball machines in their house, right?
Yeah, just for
knowing what we know now, rather curious.
Coincidence? Yeah.
Now, it's to be noted that during this exact same time period, Zen secretly starts working on Pinball FX 3.
Yes.
Doesn't tell anybody. They start working on Pinball FX 3. They make their announcement about Pinball FX 3 in August of 2017. Also in August of 2017, Mel Kirk, who we're going to be talking to next week, and believe me, I'm asking a question related to this, he puts out a tweet, writing up a license proposal for a brand I've been dreaming about working with for years. Pinball dreams do come true. We know exactly what that was. He was writing up the agreement for Williams.
Because then he retweeted that tweet, brought it back into light just after the announcement went out, said, "Pinball dreams do come true." Then he quoted the tweet. So we know the two are absolutely related.
Now, again, that was August of 2017. Farsight doesn't find out they lost the license until
January 2018.
I don't know if we know that. I don't even know if we know that.
I think we know
for sure that they know about it in April.
Yeah. That
much we know.
Yeah, that's true. I forget where I read the January. I think it might have just been speculation.
I think it might have been. I mean, my understanding was that they couldn't get Scientific to even respond to them.
Oh, yeah.
It was a totally, who dis? New phone.
It's like,
So if you think about it, it's possible that Zen had the license all the way back in August of 2017. Right at the announcement of Pinball FX 3. Is it possible that Zen built Pinball FX 3 the way they built it, with the physics engine that they built, with the understanding that they were going to go after the Williams license?
Well,
because when you think about
conclusion,
Because when you think about it, nobody was complaining about Pinball Effects 2.
No.
It was fine. Could it use a UI update? Absolutely.
No, maybe. Yeah.
Graphics wise, nobody was complaining. It worked fine. It didn't have dynamic lighting, but again, whatever. When Pinball Effects 3 gets announced, it's basically, hey, check out the new lighting we can do. Oh, and we've done some physics tweaking to make the physics better. So that's what I'm most curious about is, did the idea of getting the Williams license make them want to make Pinball Effects 3? Or was the ability to do Pinball Effects 3 what made it attractive to get the Williams license? Or, did Scientific go, hey, what is this you're doing? I'm curious to know, and I know that we'll never find this out. Maybe they did a proof of concept of one of these tables that they got in-house.
and here's our submission. What do you reckon?
Right. Here's what we can do. And here's the money that we're going to pay you for it. And Scientific just goes, we're not even going to go into negotiations. Thank you.
Yeah.
We like it.
We like it. Thank you very much. I mean, let's look at the tables that they are releasing up front. It's Medieval Madness. There's a version of Medieval Madness on another platform we know of.
Yep. You
put those two side by side with the FX3 engine, and I think Blind Freddy could probably see that there's a bit of a difference in the representation of the Williams brand in those two versions.
Yeah.
So, you just compare apple. You unfortunately have to compare apples with oranges or apples with apples here. Yeah.
So what this all really means, folks, is whenever anybody was speculating about, was it Pinball Arcade putting out, being put out on the Switch? Was that what did it? No, it absolutely was not what did it. That was it. If anything, that was Farsight going, let's put this out.
Yeah, let's just get this out there now.
Maybe that's within our contract thing, and they found out a couple of hours later that it wasn't, and got their cease and desist. So,
essentially at that point, Farsight were going, we're running out of runway fast,
right?
Yeah, real fast. So, yeah. So that would not have been a good position. That would not have been a good feeling. For those poor guys.
You know what I will say? It's kind of like Farsight had their wife suddenly hand them divorce papers, and they thought everything was groovy, and the wife hands them divorce papers and just goes, "I'm done. I'm leaving you." And then
the bag's packed. See you later. Bye.
Who are you leaving? No. Let me. No. It's too late. I'm already done. I've already moved in with this other guy. Who's the guy? And then you find out who the guy is. And I always joke because it's my wife's favorite person, but it's Hugh Jackman. And then I kind of go, well, you know what? If you're going to lose out to anybody,
might as well be him.
Shoot, I would leave you for him too.
Yes, that's right.
It's you can't really be sad about who it went to. It's not like it went to some brand new studio that's never produced a pinball,
that's right,
digital pinball machine game in their life, and it's not some startup company. So it's hard to be sad about that in that manner. So it's fascinating. I know we're never going to find out the information about this. It's one of those things. There's a documentary on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us. And if you've never seen it, look it up. It's fascinating because you find out, why is it that Kenner, this little tiny toy company, got the Star Wars license instead of Hasbro getting it, who was much bigger. And then you find out the reasonings, and you're just like, oh my gosh, because Hasbro is being idiots, and
right.
It's those kind of stories that you never knew the ins and outs and whys, but then when you find out, you're just like, wow, it's like political intrigue.
It really is. Yeah, the way these things go down is it's definitely one of those documentary style things that you could go into. Yeah, because there's a lot of twists and turns in the whole thing. And I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff that we're completely off base on as well.
Oh yeah,
with
absolutely.
This speculation, there's probably big gaps in our timeline here, and there's probably some stuff that potentially happened in a different order than what we probably said.
Different order. Who knows what those licensing conversations even were? Because I know some of the information that went into when Farsight got the license for Terminator.
Yeah.
And that stuff I'm not allowed to repeat.
No.
But it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, really? That was a holdup? Or that was the hurdle that you had to jump over to get this? That's ridiculous. They're just really interesting kind of things that go on way behind the scenes that we the public are never supposed to hear about. And unfortunately, Zen is never going to tell us. So
no, they're well and truly, for us to know that information, we would have to enter into an NDA with the license holders.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen.
We still wouldn't be able to tell you fine people. So
no. So it would only be for our information only, and that's not really that much fun.
No, it's not much fun.
To speculate.
We love to speculate. That's the blast of blasts. But feel free, folks, to spread all the rumors that we just put out there.
Yeah, please do.
Take that for gospel. So that I
make your own rumors of the rumors,
right?
Because that's fun as well.
It is. But like I said, that's the. Did you say Hugh Jackman? Yes, I said Hugh Jackman. I think I just woke my wife up from a nap.
She just did the the meerkat over the door.
Wait! Is it shirt off too?
This is relevant to my interests.
Look, shiny. So anyway, that's our dance of what we think happened timeline. How Zen managed to get the license? Who knows? It could be purely as simple as Scientific just went, no, we're sick and tired of dealing with you. We dealt with you, or you've had the license for 10 years. This is what you've produced. We'd like to see what somebody else can produce. It might have been that. It might have been that cut and dry. It might have been, and this is something that that we're not privy to. Whereas we think that Farsight never had a conversation. Maybe they did have a conversation, and maybe Scientific just plain went, you know what? If you want this license, you got to up the price. And Zen went, we can't up it for the purchasing of outright, not the
Farsight said no. Yeah,
not the 2-year renewal price, but this is how much it would be to buy it outright. And Farsight might have said, no, we're not paying that, never expecting another company to come in and actually.
Well, we can. Here you go. Yeah. Here's the money, honey.
I encourage you folks to go and listen. Go on to Facebook. Go to the Zen Facebook page. I don't know if it's either the Zen page or the Pinball Effects 3 page. But look up the live Facebook chat. Mel is answering questions that were posted. There was some interesting stuff that comes out of it. The most interesting to me is that they have 40 people dedicated to pinball and pinball only. Whether that's tearing the machines down, photographing them, designing, that's their pinball team. Then they have an additional group of people that work on other Zen games, but are willing to share assets.
Right. Okay.
So
like Disco Dodgeball and Castle Storm and all those ones. Yeah.
So you think about it, they made the Castle Storm game, then they made a Castle Storm pinball version of pinball. So a lot of those assets, art, all that stuff was already designed. So basically in-house they can get some stuff brought over to them. Then
time for a Disco Dodgeball pin, then, eh?
All right. Ooh.
How about that?
And then you have all of the well, you know what? Zen in this thing said they have 2 new tables coming out at the start of the year that are going to be their own IPs. They're not licensed. I think you're onto something, bro. I think you're onto something. And the other one, what would be the other one? Because it's their other game, Infinite Mini Golf.
Yep. A mini golf theme.
Can you imagine playing? Come on. Pin golf. Nobody's done it yet.
Yeah.
Not a golf themed table. I mean pin golf.
Pin golf. Yeah. Imagine the ball going off to a different playfield, like a golf course in a digital like pinball table. Like each table is a different golf course, man. Come on. This is like obvious stuff here. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow. We'll see. We'll see if we're right about.
But they also have them. They have their marketing people. They have their administrative people. They have people that work exclusively just with how to make things work online. So if you imagine that many people that can be dedicated to pumping out a product, as opposed to Farsight, who has 25 people in the entire company.
Yeah. It's just capacity. It comes down to capacity.
Yeah.
It's a case closed.
So that was an interesting thing. The other thing, and we hinted about this earlier, somebody asked about family mode. Because if you play Medieval Madness and you shoot the dragon ramp, the dragon goes to spit fire on a knight and a big censored bar goes up over it. Then the dragon goes to bite the knight's head off and a censor bar comes up over it. I'm probably sure when they do the Valley Girl princess that she doesn't get to say bitchin'.
Yeah, probably not. I'm not sure if the Amorous one does a lot of the quotes either.
I don't know. But the question was, those quotes, Lord How It Hurts, I'm sure gets edited.
Do the BPU. Yeah, that's good.
It's not just bleeping him out. They probably don't even use that audio clip at all.
Yeah.
Who the beep are you? It's probably not even used. So basically, they have it turned to family mode. This was asked, do you have to have it in family mode? Zen says, well, the rating of our game is an E10, and so yes. Here's the thing. Farsight with Pinball Arcade was rated an E10. Medieval Madness, not family mode. They did go ahead and chicken out and put family mode on Scared Stiff. Later on, I believe they bumped up to an E10 for Stern Pinball Arcade. Those tables have now come into Pinball Arcade. Pinball Arcade is still an E10. So clearly there's room. The other thing is when these tables were put into family mode, there was no such thing as the ESRB. And I doubt that any of the stuff that is in these tables would require anything greater than an E10. Even if that is the case, there's still a way around it. And that is, can we just put in an age verification thing? You put in your age verification code, now you have access to the non-family ROM of the table. We fought tooth and nail with Farsight for so many years, begging for this, and the only way we got it was from the throw it into pro mode. Now we have to deal with this again.
So please don't make us do this again.
No, please. We want, because what are we going to have the modesty sticker put onto Elvira if they get around to doing the Elvira table? That's just stupid.
Because we can't have Elvira bobs showing on the
no cleavage for you. That's terrible.
Oh.
What are they going to do on Xenon? Put her in a skirt? Future spa. Everybody's in a robe.
Yeah, exactly.
So again, I'm gonna. Mel,
interesting thing.
Mel, if you're listening to this, be prepared. We're coming after you on this.
we gotta expect. Yeah, I expect Discord on this.
This is a hot point. You know what? Mess with the physics all you want. I don't want family mode.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no family in pinball.
Because when you think about it, the double entendres and innuendo that are on tables like Medieval Madness and Scared Stiff will
the DNA of the game.
Completely over the head of a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
A 13, 14-year-old? Sweet spot.
Oh, yeah. That's like money in the bank for a 13 or 14-year-old.
And that's your teen rating. These games were never R-rated. Not until Stern started putting out tables. So they never were that bad. And most of the adults that are playing this is what they grew up with. I never went to an arcade that had family mode on any of these tables ever.
No.
I never heard about family mode until I started playing visual pinball and noticed that was one of the ROM selections that you could do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's very bizarre. I wonder though, like with how TPA has merged all the Stern tables into their core TPA package.
Yeah.
What rating is TPA? Is TPA now team?
No, it's E10.
So
Stern Pinball Arcade is team.
It's team. So now they're putting titles that were team rated into a E10 rated package.
Yes.
Is what you're telling me.
Yes.
That's interesting, isn't it?
So, Whoa Nelly, Big Juicy
Whoa Nelly is
with the double entendre city that puts Elvira to shame, especially in the artwork. No worries.
Yeah, no problem at all. Righto. Under an E10. Unless we've just pointed out something that the ESRB is going to be going, well, hang on a second there, TPA.
But here's my point. Even with Elvira Scared Stiff, you could still purchase the Pro Mode. That didn't carry a different rating. And the Pro Mode was where you could get the
multi-language.
Right. Yeah. So it makes zero sense to me. So again, Mel's going to have to figure that out.
Yeah.
He's going to have to enlighten us because I'm sorry, I'm not letting go of this one.
No. He's going to need to tell us how ratings work.
Right.
So that we understand and there's no more debate over it. So that's going to be one that we're going to pose next week.
And we'll still call BS.
Yes.
Folks. So, but here's the other thing, folks. Like I said, we're going to be talking to Mel Kirk. We don't know exactly how long we're going to have him for. I requested that we get at least 15 minutes with him. We won't be broadcasting it. Well, no, we actually will. I think we are going to be broadcasting it live.
We're going to do it live?
I think we're going to do it live. I don't think we have any need to
put the bleep button in.
Put the bleep button in. If you have questions that you would like us to ask Mel relating to Zen, now, we're not limiting it to just being about the Williams pinball collection. No. You just have, because we got a ton of questions just about Zen pinball in general. Why don't you drop us the best method in this case? Drop us an email, BlahCade@gmail.com, so that we can just copy and paste it over into a document that we can then do. As opposed to, if that's too much for you, if you don't want to email us, go ahead and message us on Twitter @BlahCade. Hashtag it questions for Mel.
Yeah, so we can filter on it.
Yeah. And we'll try.
Well, you don't really need to do that if you're DMing us, because it goes straight to us. We don't have to search for it.
Right, but if you don't DM us, if you just put it in the regular Twitter thing,
we'll miss it.
But I'm saying if you do that, please put the hashtag on there. Questions for Mel. And do that this week, and we'll try and throw in some of those questions if they're not already questions that we have ourselves.
I'm trying to do my best to get this podcast out like in the next couple of days so people have enough time.
Yeah.
Or just, I don't know, we'll tweet out before this episode even goes live to say, hey, look, invite questions. So
I should say also, hello to all of our new listeners. We picked up quite a few new Twitter followers. I haven't looked at our download numbers for the podcast itself, but our YouTube views is way higher than usual.
Yeah. People like to see our ugly mugs.
Like way higher than we're used to. So that's fantastic. So welcome to all you guys. And we'll tell you. So you just heard the email. You just heard our Twitter account. Follow myself. I am @ShutYourTraps. Jared is @JaredMorgs. Visit our website, which is BlahCadePinball.com/episodes. That's where you can go back and listen to any one of our 147 episodes. This is our 148th. So we're coming real fast on 150. So those are all the methods that you can catch up on everything that we've done and what we talk about, that kind of thing. Familiarize yourself, because we talk about digital pinball almost exclusively. We do sneak in real pinball here and there, but it's predominantly digital pinball. Mostly, sometimes we'll talk about things that are completely non-pinball related. So there you go. We do what other podcasts can't. Haha.
Yeah, that's right.
That being said, wow, that was
quite an episode.
That was a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
we've barely scratched the surface, folks. This is like we were in a drought for months. It was a self-imposed drought.
Yeah.
And now we've hit the wellspring, and we can't fill our buckets up fast enough. So we'll be back again next week. Again, talking to Mel Kirk live. He apparently has some stuff that we don't know about that he's going to be talking about too. So that'll be exciting.
Should be interesting.
It should be. And then we're going to have to figure out what the heck we're going to talk about for that episode 150. So my wife says Hugh Jackman. There you go. Episode 150 is going to be all about Hugh Jackman, but only Hugh Jackman in Wolverine form, because that's apparently the only way she likes him.
Right.
So, and here's the funny part: she's refused to watch Logan because he looks old in that.
Oh.
All right, folks. Enough is enough. Thank you once more for listening. We will talk to you all again next week. Absolutely looking forward to it. Bye-bye.
Bye.